Colorectal Cancer, a matter of fact, on ABC 27, is brought to you by Penn State Milton S. Hershey Medical Center.
Welcome back. Colorectal cancer can be passed down genetically. Now doctors can determine your risk at a very young age.
Yeah, I'm a pro at this.
18-year-old Kareem and his 16-year-old brother Shaquille are pros at video games, like most teenagers. But unlike most teenagers and many adults, they are well educated about a very serious subject, colorectal cancer. Their great-grandmother died from it. She had a genetic disease called Gardner syndrome.
Gardner syndrome, or familial polyposis, is a syndrome that's a genetically transmitted disease that creates polyps in the colon most significantly, and that occurs at a very early age.
Kareem and Shaquille's grandfather has it, and so does their mother.
I was in a lot of pain, abdominal pain, body aches, bleeding from the rectum, and that's when I decided that I needed to go get checked.
Doctors diagnosed Tanika Lagara with the disease when she was 28 years old. That was 10 years ago.
They did the colonoscopy, and I had over 2,000 polyps in my colon area. So I had to get my colon removed.
It's been kind of rough for her, but we draw strength from each other, and definitely prayer works.
Tanika says her faith is what pulls her through the hardest of times. And one of those times was last April, when Kareem and Shaquille were tested for Gardner syndrome.
Both of whom unfortunately developed a lot of polyps as well. And when we say a lot of polyps, in this family, they're developing 500, 1,000 polyps. Literally, the colon is carpeted with polyps.
Mom had to tell her sons the devastating news.
We told them, and then all of us cried.
I was shocked and scared. I was shocked. Like, I didn't know what to do. I kept on praying and just wanted it to be perfect. I don't want to feel no pain what my mom went through.
It can be very devastating to families, not only because their child is diagnosed with a pretty serious condition, although it can be managed, but also add the layer of responsibility that a parent might feel in having passed down a condition.
Doctors told Tanika surgery was the only solution, a heartbreaking decision.
Really, it wasn't too much of a choice. I mean, it's either, you have the surgery or get colon cancer, and we definitely didn't want them to have that and have to deal with those issues, because then that would have been devastating for them.
Shaquille understood, but he didn't. He was just like, Mom, I want to get it done and over with. Kareem, I would say he took it hard, because he's the type that he hides his feelings and everything. And I think he wanted to get it done, but he didn't want to get it done.
3 months after the diagnosis, Dr. Colton removed the boys' colons.
What we do is we basically remove the entire colon, saving the anus, and then we take the healthy small bowel and create a new reservoir for the feces out of it, stitching it in a fashion so as to then have it store stool and then connect it to the anus so that they can pass stool out of their anus in the usual fashion.
The surgeries took several hours. Kareem and Shaquille spent more than a week in the hospital.
The draining point for me was being at Hershey Medical Center, running up and down the halls, visiting both of my sons there. And, it was just a sad feeling, a very sad feeling. Seeing them hooked up to machines and tubes and stuff like that, it's sad.
It took weeks for their bodies to heal, but now, 8 months later,
I feel great. I play sports, basketball, and football, hang out with my friends. I feel great right now that I'm still alive and still doing what I'm supposed to do. I have a job.
You would never know they had this kind of surgery.
They got through it because, they have their mother, and their mother already had, dealt with it before. So at least they had someone that had dealt with that condition and knew how to rise above it.
Tanika's younger daughter and son were also tested for Gardner syndrome. Her daughter, who is 13, tested positive. Her son, who is 11, does not have the disease. Back to you, Chuck.
Thank you, Deborah. Now joining us now in the studio is Dr. Maria Baker, genetic counselor. Dr. Baker, are all types of colorectal cancer, are they hereditary?
Approximately 5 to 10% of all colorectal cancer is hereditary. A larger portion, maybe 10 to 30%, is familial, such that there's a combination of genetic and environmental risk factors that are all working together to pose an increased risk for cancer.
And in the case of the Pitts family, the one son does not have Gardner syndrome. What types of genetic tests are available to determine that if you're at risk for colorectal cancer?
Genetic testing is currently available for two of the most common hereditary causes of colon cancer, including HNPCC or Lynch syndrome, as well as FAP, which is sometimes called Gardner syndrome.
Well, I thank you for your answers. Thanks for coming out here. We're kind of short on time here, but we do want to check back in the call center with Deborah with another question. Deborah, what do we have there?
Chuck, we have time for one last viewer question. I was diagnosed with colon cancer 4 years ago. I went through chemotherapy and had surgery to remove the cancer. Is there a danger of the cancer coming back or spreading?
The chance of cure is directly related to the stage and extent of disease at the time of diagnosis. If someone is 4 years out and has kept up with their surveillance testing, such as blood tests, colonoscopies, and CAT scans, the chance of cure is very high. The key is to keep up with surveillance testing.
Okay.